Good morning, I'm Sally Barker. Welcome to Local Business Focus. Joining me this morning is Peter Trenaman from Groupsupport, proud station sponsor. Good morning, Peter.
Thanks for having me, Sally. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. And how are you?
Pretty good, yes. A good week. We had some interesting things we had to adapt to. And so this session is about how to make your business easier to sell. It should have been last week, but we had to do some stuff, and that's what business is all about, isn't it?
Exactly. It's always changing, and we have to talk about what's in the moment.
Absolutely. In the moment at the moment is a topic that came up after last week's conversation was a colleague of mine, let's call him Frank, mentioned that they'd paid too much BAS on a regular basis or a couple of times. And BAS is not like PAYG. It's not like the payroll and the taxes taken out on your pay. You need to pay exactly what is there. You need to be accurate. You need to be precise, spot on. That's why accountants get paid the money they do. That's why we have systems that actually do those calculations for you. You need to check them, of course, but that's why this is all there, so that's an accurate figure. Those figures go through, they provide the Australian Bureau of Statistics with all their trade figures and all that sort of stuff. So Frank's business may have an impact in a bigger sense on the Australia's trade figures and what the budget does in the government level. So it's important to be accurate, and that's one of the reasons why we look at finance and reporting and a single system, a single entry point systems to be so important, is to maintain that accuracy, to look after your finances, and to manage your business so that you can grow and make some money.
Well, let's talk about building that asset so you can make money.
Absolutely.
And that's the topic of our show today,
That's
is making your business easier to sell.
Absolutely. Business owners around the world and the business management theories all say that as soon as you start a business, you should get it ready for sale. Okay. The reason they say that is so that you are concentrating on making it a process, to make it a system, so that it's not dependent upon an individual. Now, this is talking about a business which isn't one man and a dog. You know, we're not talking about Joe's painting, who does painting because he loves it. It's a job he likes doing. It's a job he can do. And when he finishes his working career, the business will fold, close, and the people who use him will have to find somewhere else. This is talking about a business like mine. I have 8 staff. We're in Belmont. We do IT support and supply. I have a business. I need to make it so that it's not dependent upon me personally, okay, in order to sell it. And that requires some effort. It requires some objectivity. It requires some processes. It requires some systems. I need to put some effort in. I need to build the asset as if I would build something to sell to a client, because my client is my business, the person who buys my business. So if you think of it a slightly different way. So where was I going? Oh yes, so by improving my asset, which is my business, I make it more attractive. Now, the more attractive I can make it, the better a buyer will be in buying it and paying the money I want for it. One of the ways we can do that is improve the systems. So there's processes and procedures. If we have manuals, if we have a set tasks and what's the word for staff, their protocols and their procedures that they have to follow, a job description, that's the word I was looking for. If they have all those things in place, then that means that a new person doesn't have to do much when they come in. They don't have to do anything with the system.
So your business is more attractive.
Absolutely. It's less work to do. And if it's ongoing and it's making money and it has consistent clients, and there's a consistency about the performance, there's a consistency about the service it's offering, then things will continue as normal. It means it's predictable. It means a new business owner can see. One of the things he'll be able to see with is, of course, the reports that we mentioned the other week. And reports play a big part in how those things go on. The other thing that plays a big part is the year-on-year reports, improvements in profit or a stability in profit, a stability in sales, a market share, a increasing trend or a decreasing trend of costs, improvement in automation. We'll talk about that in the coming weeks. All those things play a part. and all those things are part of a reporting system. So that if you don't have the information there in one place, and it takes you a large amount of time or a large amount of effort to actually create those reports, creating those reports for someone to show them is a difficult thing. And if it's a difficult thing, you'll do it less. Do you know what I'm saying? So you want to be able to go, I need this straight away. Yep, okay. It'll take 10 minutes because it'll take 10 minutes to run. We can go and have a coffee. But it's not like 2 hours or 2 days or you know, one of my staff members is going to be out of action for half a day because they're compiling Excel reports or whatever. Mm-hmm. Many of the smaller accounting systems and smaller packages, you have to have a raft of other Excel spreadsheets or other things behind the scenes to actually support all these reports you're doing, to actually provide that information, statistical or analytical, or even last year's information. Some of the accounting systems even don't keep last year's information.
Really?
Let's not harp on that too much. I'll start a rant.
Yeah.
But yes, yeah, it's a difficult thing for me to actually cope with as a business owner. You know, I've got a client. Let's call him Frank. He's sold 2 wheelbarrows to a client. Now let's not use wheelbarrows. Let's use monitors, screens. You know, the monitors that sit behind your computer. The client's done an accidental shift. Or accidental exchange and returned a monitor that he hasn't bought from Frank. Now Frank can look up, because he's got one of my systems in place, Frank can look up the serial number and see that 3 years ago he bought this monitor from someone else. It wasn't from him. Okay?
Yeah.
And Frank knows it wasn't from him because it's not on his supplier reports, it's not on his customer reports, it's not on his stock list. His stock list goes back 12 years. He can look at anything he's sold in the last 12 years and know what he sold, serial numbers, price he paid, price he sold it for. Not everybody can do that. Okay?
Yeah.
And that horrifies me. In this case, Frank would have lost $300 on a perfectly good monitor that he hadn't sold to someone else. Well, it wasn't perfectly good anymore. No, that doesn't make sense, sorry. But you understand what I'm saying. The Frank's client had to return the monitor to the wrong place, okay, and it had broken, so it's under warranty, so it needs a replacement. In fact, Frank's good relationship with the vendor, with the manufacturer, provided that warranty replacement through Frank as a service to Frank for his good custom, okay? So that also works in their favour too. But the whole idea of having that information available to you is where you stop losing money. And if you can stop losing money and prove that you're minimising those losses, then businesses are easier to sell because they're watertight, if you understand what I'm saying. The other, one of the classic illustrations I have of a system, of a success story that we like telling about is a client that we lost. And most people look at me and say, are you mad? It's not a success story if you've lost a client. But this is a success story because we had a client who was struggling with their existing system. And Frank, his name was Frank too, all my clients are Frank when I tell other people about them. This client had a system that they were struggling with. They had 3 or 4 sections of their company that were operating independently and they couldn't put them together. We put our system in place. They started getting reports, good reports, and they started getting some reports that highlighted some omissions. And one of the things they realised was that it was taking an inordinate amount of time to track the products through the warehouse. Okay? They could afford buying a system to automatically track it and still save money. And that automatic tracking system cost an immense amount of money. Let's talk about $1 million. You know, an immense amount of money for a tracking system. But they could afford it because they were losing at least that amount of money tracking it themselves.
Wow.
Okay, so they bought this system, they put it in. They started making money because the 2 people whose job it was to track all this stuff then became customer liaison people, then became warehouse supervisor people, process improvement people, people who actually knew the business so well because they'd been ingrained in it for so long, looking and tracking this stuff. They knew how dissect the business completely. Okay, those people suggested improvements. So they've got fingerprint scanners for their employees to make it easier for them to log on and off. Okay, they got reporting that went out to the managers on mobile phones every half day. So at lunchtime they would receive a report, and in the evening they'd receive a report, so that there was on the job, on the go reporting. So in an industry where response was really important, a salesman, an account manager, could have the information at his fingertips and straight after lunch get on the phone to his client and say, hey, something's gone wrong. We won't have those things by this time, we'll have them by this time. The client's aware, the client's good. Information is everything. That makes the business more attractive. Now Frank needed to get out of the business for other reasons, and he was asking a certain amount, and he decided to push his luck a little bit and ask a little bit more. A competitor came in and paid it without question almost. I mean, a few little due diligence things, but basically was happy to pay that amount, which was way and above anything that could have been achieved, okay, from the previous level. And we've just learned in the last couple of days, okay, that client, that competitor, an offer's been put in for that competitor because they've adopted Frank's system throughout their company. So the value keeps building. The value keeps building to other, within the organisations that this Frank's part of, to actually increase the value. So some well-placed investment can net you more, and we spoke before about spending a bit more money and making more money because you're spending a little bit more money intelligently. And that's an important process. But to have that information to be able to do that sensibly means you need to have the reports. Means you probably need to have a system, so you need to spend a little bit of money to get a system in place, so then you can leverage it and get more information and spend more money to make more money, and so the cycle continues.
So that's why you say it's important once you go into business, you start preparing that business to sell.
And keep on it, okay? I spoke before about having an IT guru, someone who's on side, someone who's there, you speak to regularly, you pay for their advice. They tell you things, they advise you what's going on. They don't necessarily disagree with you. Don't necessarily agree with you. They disagree with you sometimes, because that's important to maintain that edge in business, to improve it, keep going on it. Any advice that I give, because I'm not talking to all the business owners out there individually, is only a general advice. But what I do for my clients is I look at their businesses, I see what's going on, I notice stuff, I spend time asking questions, and sometimes it's the questions that guide the business owner to the way for improvement. Sometimes it's just me being nosy, okay? But overall, my job is to maintain that edge, to provide solutions and to provide suggestions and improve and increase and be involved. And I'm hoping that every one of my businesses improve because that helps me. And that's what this is all about, improving your business, and so that you can make more money when you sell it.
And that brings us to what we'll be talking about next week, and it's either automation or golf.
Yes, let's see which one wins out.
Exactly. So thank you so much for joining us this morning on Local Business Focus. Peter Trenaman from Groupsupport, proud station sponsor.
Thanks for having me.